So welcome to the Quiet Mind and Open Heart Workshop. And today I like to start by reading from a book called And There Was Light by Jacques Luceren. And this is a true story and illustrates very well about guidance, the receiving of guidance and the blocking of guidance. This is the autobiography, his book, of a blind hero in the French resistance. As I say, Jacques Luceren. And he discovered after an accident when he was 8, where he blinded both eyes, that he still had a certain ability to see. It could be so strong that he could be with his girlfriend who would run off and he'd see a red trail in his mind's eye and knew where she was. And when he was in this guided state, he could be walking down a road and he knew where the trees were. If he was very quiet, he knew where the branches on the trees were, though he was completely blind. And I've taken a bit which shows how he would lose this guidance and get it back. And it's our story as well with regard to guidance. So this is Jacques. Still, there were times when the light faded, almost to the point of disappearing. It happened every time I was afraid. If instead of letting myself be carried along by confidence and throwing myself into things, I hesitated, calculated, thought about the wall, the half-open door, the key in the lock, if I said to myself that all these things were hostile and about to strike or scratch, then without exception, I hit or wounded myself. The only easy way to move around the house, the garden, or the beach was by not thinking about it at all, or thinking as little as possible. Then I moved between obstacles the way they say bats do. What the loss of my eyes had not accomplished was brought about by fear. It made me blind. Anger and impatience had the same effect, throwing everything into confusion. The minute before, I knew just where everything in the room was, but if I got angry, things got angrier than I. They went and hid in the most unlikely corners, mixed themselves up, turned turtle, muttered like crazy men, and looked wild. As for me, I no longer knew where to put hand or foot. Everything hurt me. This mechanism worked so well that I became cautious. When I was playing with my small companions, if I suddenly grew anxious to win, to be first at all costs, then all at once I could see nothing. Literally, I went into fog or smoke. I could no longer afford to be jealous or unfriendly, because as soon as I was, a bandage came down over my eyes, and I was bound hand and foot and cast aside. All at once, a black hole opened, and I was helpless inside it. But when I was happy and serene, approached people with confidence and thought well of them, I was rewarded with light. So is it surprising that I loved friendship and harmony when I was very young? Armed with such a tool, why should I need a moral code? For me, this tool took the place of red and green lights. I always knew where the road was open and where it was closed. I had only to look at the bright signal, which taught me how to live. So that was his story. And when I first read it, it was like electric. And I thought, this is exactly us with the Holy Spirit. Without the Holy Spirit, we're all spiritually blind. I mean, the Holy Spirit, only a few of us, of course, says we hear words. We can hear it through feelings, intuitions, a so-called chance encounter, a dream. And without that, we're left with the ego to guide us. But if we learn to relax and trust the guidance, then it's there. It's once we welcome the ego back with our fear and competition and trying, the dark comes over us like it did Jacques. And once we cultivate, friendship and kindness, then it's lifted again. So Jacques had to work hard to bring his sight back. Otherwise, he was blind. He bumped into things. He was hurt. But if we want peace, it's the same thing. Interestingly enough, his story I found very interesting because he was so perceptive. It was the Second World War. France was occupied. He was in Paris. He was only 15, but he was the leader of a French resistance group. They trusted his intuition, his knowledge, his guidance. And then one day, another resistance group that had a rather famous leader wanted to join and amalgamate. And instantly, Jacques sort of saw this blind coming down, a really strong signal, don't do it. But all his people in the group thought it'd be an honor to have this man join. And he went against his guidance. And it turned out the leader was actually a Nazi. And he'd been planted in and created a group so they could track down Jacques. And Jacques ended up in a concentration camp. But once again, people sensed who he was, and he became a leader in that group and survived the war. And interestingly enough, went on to be, you never guess what, a professor of literature. A blind professor of literature. So we think we got a few problems to overcome. I think he did well. Anyone want to share anything about that before we get on to give it and receive it?
Yeah, I was just thinking earlier today, it really felt like it was sort of really hitting home that just totally needing to do the flip job on the whole belief system. Really feels like it's at that point, really needing to just let it all go, as you say, hand it over to the Holy Spirit. It's like, yeah, even with the, all the things that we learn, you think you're doing a good job. It's just like, no, just hand it all over.
You're talking about a whole life's experience there, Judith?
Yeah, life. Yeah.
Wow. I think someone else shared with that to me today in an email. Handed it all over.
I'm not saying I have managed to do that, but it feels like it's it's necessary.
Yeah, could you do it first, and then next time we meet, tell you how it goes, and then perhaps I'll join you.
Okay.
That's a huge one, Judith. That's what the course asks, doesn't it? You know nothing, so please hand over everything to us. You've been resigned as your own teacher, the course says, because you've been badly taught. Boy, oh boy. Well done. That's a big. I mean, sure, we know how to be an ego and drive a car and a computer perhaps and make meals, but the course says unless you have peace 724, you know absolutely nothing. Right, thanks for that. Anyone else? Ingrid. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just to have I love the topic. And can you give us some examples on how you give it over to Holy Spirit?
But all of it?
Yeah, that's just some examples, like so I can relate more. I feel that what you say is right. And how in the daily life would you hand it over? Different scenarios.
Oh, I see. In this situation, yeah.
Yes.
How would you hand it over? I suppose there has to be a dawning realization that the way you've been handling it, I've been handling it, hasn't been working. I don't think we can really do much because when you're young, you know, not many people think of handing things over because they're pretty sure that they know what's right, you know. And someone once said a wise statement that the happiness of youth lies not in what they're doing, but what they expect to do. So they've got it all lined up, it's all controlled, they know what's best. And then there's that phrase, there's only one thing worse than getting what you want, and that's getting it. So you can be successful and you're still not happy. So I think the first stage is that has to be fairly strong. Like, I can even get the things I want and they still don't make me happy. So I'm not sure if I know if I'm the best judge. So once that's there, I think it then gets easier. So then you have a challenging situation. And what happens first is that, or what I've seen in me and others, is the ego comes in straight away. Maybe an argument begins, or you make a decision. But with practice, shortly afterwards, you thought, well, that didn't work. And then at that point, you can pass it over. It's not done at the time, but it's, okay, I've lost my peace. You can do a little forgiveness exercise. You can welcome in Jesus and say, I lost my peace, Jesus. Can you show me how to see this in a different way? It's not as I think it is. I was given that guidance once. Tell Michael, it's not as he thinks it is. Ask to see it a different way. So that's a powerful statement to guidance to come in, like, okay, I got it wrong. I'm open to you. And then I learned not to expect an instant answer. But if I did it, I found I was at peace sometime afterwards. I may not have been given a word prescription. Some have more ability to ask before an event and guidance come in as words, though it is, the course points out, a rather rare thing to hear words. It's more a feel and intuition, like, well, I'm coming up for this job interview and I'm anxious and I need some help here. And then just be quiet. And then a feeling may come over that might be, okay, you'll be all right. Put peace first and getting the interview right second. People are different, I find. So let me ask in the group here, anything you would want to say to Ingrid about the way you work? Some hear words, some here don't. Well, I know we've got a couple of channelers sitting out there, Jill and Devon.
I was trying to explain this whole guidance thing. Oh, Jill.
I know what's happening to me.
You know, well,
Oh, someone's here. Something's happening.
carry on, Devon.
Guidance coming in. Guide me through this.
Guidance coming in. Interfering with it.
And I was trying like to of what I think how I started as well is when I'm not sure, for example, of what to do, I find myself in a situation, I'm like, oh, damn, I don't know what to do. I kind of like try to be quiet and then, for example, like say the options that I have or like what I could do in my head. And I usually even get like a bodily reaction, something like I say like, oh, option A. And I feel like a heavy feeling that like that weighs me down. And then I say option B, and then usually what happens is, oh, I feel like a lightness coming over me or like down on me or up, I don't know. So I kind of like, I don't know, perhaps intuition or guidance, whatever you want to call it, but just kind of like a feeling. You kind of like have almost like an inkling what could be better. And yeah, I don't know. That's what just came to my mind. I'm not sure if that was helpful, but just kind of like feeling it out, I guess.
Can I ask a question, Dan?
Yeah.
What if the two options you gave, they were both wrong? What do you do then?
I I think of other options. I like tried other things perhaps, and sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm going to come back to it. I'll ask again in half an hour. I'll ask again in a couple of days, depending on what it is.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Because sometimes I feel like if to get a bit meta, if things are like still shifting around, perhaps it's kind of like not to be known yet. Like it's still kind of like rearranging in the background, and then a couple of days later, it's like, okay, now go, now act. Perhaps, yeah, there may be also just a bit of a waiting period, just patience. Don't need to do anything right now. Wait and check in again.
So you get an answer by sort of not getting an answer.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
not to be known now. Yeah.
Please hold the line. Try again later. Yeah. A bit like that.
I like it. Anyone else got a suggestion?
I can give you an example of, and this is usually how I work through it. Recently, it just come to my attention through someone that that I may have something wrong with a tooth at the very back, and very back of my mouth. And I've only recently been to the dentist, so I thought, okay. And then I thought I'd call my dentist and see, well, I'll just check on that and ask him to look at the x-rays that they did last November. So he told me, he said to come in, that he'd probably take out the filling and put in a new one. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to have an injection to numb my tooth because I don't know what's in that. And he doesn't know what's in it, even though, anything, to me, anything that comes from a pharmaceutical company needs to be given some thought to it now. So I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to hurt because it was a pretty deep feeling. So I thought, oh, and then I did actually post that on the other Mighty Networks, and a lot of people came back with, oh, I think it'll be, some people said, oh, I think it'll be fine. Then other people said, I don't know about that, and so I thought, look, there's no point asking other people. I'll just ask. I need help. I need you. I don't want to go through all this pain if in 5 years' time I find out there was actually nothing in dental stuff, or even Botox, which I'm not having any, because who's putting anything in their face now, so it's so what I did was I just gave it a great deal of thought, and I kept going, oh, go on, just do it. And then there'd be something pull me back to, you never want to have regrets. And then I got the feeling of what it would be like to have regrets if I did it and then found out. And then I was thinking, but what about the pain? What about the pain? And then I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to hand this over. I don't think I should have it. This is what my gut's telling me. And every time I kept thinking, go on, just have it, the needle. It was like, no. So it was a real big feeling inside of me. And I don't know whether the future is going to prove me right or wrong about that. But I handed it over. And then I went to the dentist and he goes, oh, go on, you'll just have it. And I said, no, I'm not having it. And you know why I'm not having it. And he goes, oh, no, yeah, okay. And he said, oh, actually, really, there's not, I don't think it is infected. I think it's just that there's a little crack in it and we'll just clean it out. So he only did a very small hole. It was so painful, but it only lasted like 5 seconds and it was over. And I was just there thinking, I'm just, okay, I'm not a body. I'm just handing this over to you. Just, what's right for me, and if I've got a lesson to learn from this, then so be it. So I'm sorry, that's really long-winded, but it's just this real gut feeling that I have. And I'm not even sure whether I've answered the question, because while you were talking, I was getting a message, and so I didn't listen to anything you said before. Sorry, Michael. So I'm not even sure I've answered that, Ingrid. I'm not actually sure what the question was now. I just thought I'd tell you my story. But that's how I decide how to do things, with just the gut, which might not have been what you were talking about. Sorry. But would you like to hear what I said? What I found, what I actually wrote down, but I can't see very well, and my writing's terrible. Would you like to know what was said?
Yes, please.
Just
Is this in connection with the question?
Pardon?
Is this in connection with the question from Ingrid?
No, it was to do with the meditation.
Oh, please, I'd love to hear it.
Well, you have to realize that was coming through, and I don't remember things very well once it's done and I'm not writing it. So I had to write it while you were telling your story. So I apologize. So I'll see if I can read it. It says, this was immediately afterwards. You have done very well. We love you very much. You are gentle healers of light. You are appreciated more than you can know by beings across the universe. We salute your efforts and admire your courage and loving response to our request. You are loved and are held at this moment in a light sorry, my writing's shocking. You are held in a light you will never lose, and are enveloped in a love that has never left you, but which now you can more readily accept. We bless you and we love you.
That's beautiful, Jill. Can you post it on the Mighty Networks? Because I'm going to post the meditation again, because it's a better recording, I hope. And then, we could put them together. But that's wonderful.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try and sort it out before. It was really hard for me because there was a lot of talking going on, and I was trying to remember it. So apologies for not listening yet again, Michael.
Do you want me to send you the what I read, so you can read it yourself? The story of Jacques Lussiran.
Oh, I've heard that many times, Michael. It's a lovely story.
It must be some other bit you weren't listening to. Okay.
Oh, what bit?
No,
Oh, no, I wasn't listening to that because I knew when you started, I'd heard it before. So that's when I started to write that down.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to giving and receiving, as that's around tonight, before we do a short exercise as well. So this is a bit of a summary of what the Course in Miracles says about giving and receiving. And it's so very different to the way the world sees it. So that's one of the areas that I like looking at and working with. I'm in lesson 187 to begin with. No one can give unless he has. In fact, giving is a proof of having. No one can give unless he has. In fact, giving is a proof of having. So if you give peace to someone, you couldn't have given it unless you had peace in you. Or goodwill. Also applies on the negative. If you give hate, it's because the hate's in you. It continues. We have made this point before. What seems to make it hard to credit is not this. No one can doubt that you must first possess what you would give. It is the second phase on which the world and true perception differ. Having had and given, then the world asserts that you have lost what you possessed. So if we take a common example, money. You have $100 in the world and you give 50 away, then you've got 50 left. That's the way the world sees it. The truth maintains that giving will increase what you possess. We say, come on, I've just lost $50 by giving it away. But the Course says this is not on the level of form. For example, when you were given that money, what state were you in? Was it from a sense of abundance? Oh, I'm happy to give you, half my money. I feel abundant. So what you've given is abundance. Now, what happens, and the Course explains it further, is that it reinforces that you've got an abundance mentality. You've just done it, so you must have it. And what you reinforce grows. It's the law of manifestation. What you focus on comes back to you. Having everything, Spirit holds everything by giving it, and thus creates as the Father created. While this kind of thinking is totally alien to having things, even to the lower mind, it's quite comprehensible in connection with ideas. If you share a physical possession, you do divide its ownership, back to the money. If you share an idea, however, you do not lessen it. I gave the example of peace. I share peace, it reinforces it in my own mind. I share kindness, it tells me I've got kindness in my mind, and it reinforces the kindness in my mind. If you share an idea, however, you do not lessen it. All of it's still yours. I haven't lost my peace by giving it. I haven't lost my kindness by giving it. All of it is still yours, although all of it's been given away. Further, if the one to whom you give it accepts it as his, he reinforces it in your mind and thus increases it. So if you give away peace and you see them becoming more peaceful, it actually increases it in your own mind. If you can accept the concept that the world is one of ideas, the whole belief in the false association the ego makes between giving and losing is gone. Now that's what the Course says, this is a mental world. The body's a projection, money's a projection. We dwell not here, but in eternity. We travel but in dreams while safe at home. This is all a dream. It's all mental. Money is mental. Peace is mental. It's all ideas. Whatever you give, you strengthen in your own mind. Love or hate. Let us start our process of reawakening with just a few simple concepts. Thoughts increase by giving away. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. Everything is an idea. How then can giving and losing be associated? Protect all things you value by the act of giving them away, and you're sure that you will never lose them. So everything you really value in life, give to other people. Give forgiveness, give generosity, give love, and it grows stronger in your mind because it had to be in your mind to give it away, and you just strengthened it by giving it away. You remind yourself, my God, I had it in the first place to give. What you thought you did not have is thereby proven yours. Yet value not its form, but this will change and grow unrecognizable in time, however much you try to keep it safe. No form endures. It's the thought behind the form of things that is unchangeable. I mean, all the forms are actually symbols. We may give our time, our physical energy, our expertise, our money, our material goods. What matters is why you're giving. Like with the money, does it come from abundance? Or when you give it, do you feel more impoverished? Well, you'll become in time more impoverished because that's your thought. And that's what the universe is, a giant photocopy or 3D printer will give back to you. It's always listening to you. No moral judgments, no right or wrong. It's just listening. And if you stay on one line long enough, it starts to give it. Doesn't mean it's responding to scattered thoughts that cancel each other out. But continuously giving one thing, love or hate, it'll come to you. Give gladly. You can only gain thereby. Thought remains and grows in strength and is reinforced by giving. Never forget, you give but to yourself. And this is the secret. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. Nor can he fail to recognize the many forms which sacrifice may take. He laughs as well at pain and loss and sickness and grief, at poverty, starvation, and at death. This line is easily misunderstood. He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all. And in his gentle laughter, they are healed. Obviously, the Holy Spirit is not laughing at people who are starving and dying of poverty, but it's our reaction to the news that we see in the paper. That once we have a negative reaction to any of those things, then we're in sacrifice. We've forgotten we're eternal formless beings, but the Holy Spirit knows who we are. He laughs at death because he knows there is no death. He laughs at poverty because he knows God has given us everything and we can't lose it. If we can lose it, it'd be the end of God. Giving is receiving. Any feedback on that?
I must say that's one area I do still struggle with. Not so bad with people dying because you know they're okay. It's more the those that are stuck in suffering. Yeah, I guess it's having compassion but not getting drawn in or making it real.
Yeah. What comes to mind is the example of, say, a child in hospital dying, and the friends are gathering around, and parents, and they are very upset, which is understandable, but the child may be in quite a different space and would like people to be happy. Perhaps he's already had a glimpse, or she's already had a glimpse that death's not the end, you know? And what the child really wants, and this would be difficult to say for the parents, of course, is, you know, for you to be there at peace, centered, smiling at the child. You know, you're reassuring him that actually everything's all right, even if you're dying. Now, this is a tall order, I understand, but that would be what the Holy Spirit would want. Probably almost impossible for very close, like parents, if they're grieving for something they're losing. There's a chance that others in that room could step up, follow the guidance, be peaceful, smile, hold the hand of the child, tell a story. And that's what that line meant, you know. Ingrid.
Yeah, I can share two experiences I had with this. Some years ago, my grandmother died, and then I was sitting a couple of months later. I was just sitting, relaxing in a chair in my house, in my home, and then I felt her presence. And she told me, this was before I was like deep into the course, and then I kind of got like a message. She said that do you want me to tell me what it's like where I am now? And I said, yes. And then she said, I had like a multi-sensory experience. Like she would say, she loved swimming and being in nature and beauty and colors and flowers. So she said, here it's like I can sense a daffodil, like these yellow plants you have in the Easter. And I look at it and I love it, but I don't have the fear of its death. Like she would always smell like a flower. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, but it's going to die soon.
Oh,
And she would also have like enjoy a swim in the water, the freshness, and then, oh no, I will have a bladder infection when I come up. You know, there's always the duality of everything.
yeah.
And so she could show me like some highlights in her life that was true. And then she wasn't bothered with the other situation.
Mm.
Like if you go in the sea here in Norway and you enjoy in the summer, you will always have like, if you have a small fear, oh no, I will have the bladder infection if I don't take the bikini off and get warm and stuff, you know? So it was only the that was like in a way the truth. And so I didn't know what to do with it. It was like a really strong experience because I could like sense and share her feelings.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, my stepfather died with lung cancer, and I was sitting with him in his bedside as he was struggling breathing. And then I was practicing a lot the Course in Miracles, and I could see that his body was really struggling to have oxygen and air. And then it was like one part of him that was completely unaffected. So he was just, one part was just his normal self, like his happy person in a way. I don't know what to say personality, but it was like completely unaffected by his bodily pain. It was just like a glimpse of like an awareness, but it was like, okay, I can see you're here suffering. And then it was like a place here where he was fine,
Exactly.
not suffering, not, he was just completely happy. Nothing was wrong. So
Yeah.
I think we are living in like multi layers all the time,
Well,
existing in different layers.
yeah. Well, what you just said then, I think it was Jesus Routina some while ago saying, when someone's dying, you often misunderstand. You see the body making sounds and writhing, but nearly in all cases, the soul has left. There still might be some tethering, to the body, but the person itself is not suffering. It's just this sort of meat suit making sounds, because things are happening to it. But the person's at peace and is not suffering, which is what you're describing. But we don't see that. We think they're suffering as well as the body because we confuse the two.
Yeah, and also I'll be really short, but I just seen this last week has come to me. I've been listening a lot to a woman channeling the dead Queen Elizabeth.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's talking a lot about the reptilian and the reptilian higher mind. And she said, like, I think it's really interesting. And then she said, like, fear, control, destabilization is like put into the matrix all the time to have us react to different things. And then we are hauled and kept into the matrix the whole time. So you put in fear for the humans, you put in overall control, and then you put on destabilization. And then in this soup where we are living, we are reactive to all of these things all the time. And then we are under control and are in a way blind, like you said in the beginning. We are blinded by our ego, triggered. And that's how we go into life all the time, all the time, all the time.
And that's what we saw with COVID and the vaccinations and all the lockdowns, those three things were being used all the time. And now it's all sort of evaporated away. Yeah, it's very effective at control. Very effective. If you fall for it, if you believe in it. It has no power in itself. But if you believe in it, then wow, it seems powerful. Yeah. No, thanks, Ingrid. Interesting stories.
Yeah. Can I say something? I just wonder how it is. What I have in mind is this, law of one. They say raw material. They say we should be in relationship with everything around us every day, every second, and every 24/7. And how does that relate to giving and receiving? And it must be, I guess it must be the solution. If you are in loving relationship with everything in your life, you cannot give anything that isn't love to anything. So if you can what to say, cultivate this feeling of love in every moment to everything, it should not be a problem to live there. It's all, it's clear.
Yeah, what you're
That's the
describing,
solution.
what you're describing, what you're describing is what the Course calls the real world, and it's the end of our spiritual path. It's the end of the forgiveness.
Yeah,
And in that
it's
state,
the real world. Yes.
the ego's gone for those people in the real world, and so all that's left
Yeah.
is a mind full of the Holy Spirit, which is love. So as you say, you walk around just exuding love to everything. Just you couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
It's not even a choice, because the choice was always
No.
between the
No.
ego and the Holy Spirit, but the ego's gone now at the end of the forgiveness path. So you'd be exuding love. You wouldn't even be cultivated. You just couldn't stop it. That's who you are. And that
But I guess you have to cultivate that feeling and remember before it's automatic. Before you can see the real world, you have to do a lot of work on it, or remember it. Yeah.
I think it's simple, really, that the more you practice forgiveness, the more the love shines. It just more and more during the day. I mean, love is not by degree that the Course talks about. I mean, in our world, it's most of the time it's the needy, dependent, special love. I love you if you love me. Stop, I will get angry. But the unconditional love, which is where we're going for, there's no degrees to that. It's just giving without thought of return. You just give it, like a sun shining. And I think you get bursts of that more and more. And then you're back to the special love. And the bursts are because you're forgiving more and more. But I see no way of cultivating unconditional love. It just happens or it doesn't, according to your level of forgiveness.
I think that is it's that this part of the Course that says you're just removing the barriers to love. It's not about cultivating love. I can't remember the words, but what I think is just something that Lena was saying is it's it is getting rid of everything else. It's already here. It's like taking off layers of clothes or cobwebs, away from something, beautiful. And it isn't that, well, this is my opinion, but it's also a feeling that I have about this, is that the love isn't a love. You know how way back when you may have, you know, been in the company of people who were all loving, but you knew that that was not, it was a bit sugary and, you know, maybe, you know, hippie-ish, or not, no disrespect to anybody who might be a hippie here or who is listening on YouTube or anywhere. That's not what I mean. What, oh God, can we start recording now? What I mean is that it is the love that they talk about in A Course in Miracles is something that just comes from you, and you may never really realize it. It's just that you go into a room and people feel better, or you have conversation with someone and they feel something. I don't know that you know, maybe at first you'll kind of feel this love going out from you, but I think that it's just who you are. You know, you don't, it's not necessarily something you feel because it's just what you are. It's going out. You can't stop it.
I think that's perfect, Jill. Two things there. One, to come back to Lena, there are things you can cultivate, like being more gentle, more kind, better listener. We have control over that. That's a wonderful thing to do. Instead of jumping into the ego, you say, oh, I could say a kind word here. I don't have to be judgmental. They disagree with me about something. I'm about to jump, and I thought, no, don't do that. You know, just be quiet. So that's a cultivation of kindness. But I'm totally on board with Jill that unconditional love is there or not. And one little story that was nice for me once, I was having a good day. Certain things happen sometimes when I'm feeling peaceful and happy. And I walked into the local store. There's no one there except the woman who was serving. And she's quite psychic. And she wasn't looking at me. As I walked into the door, she suddenly went forward and held her heart and head. And she turned to me and said, the moment you walked in, this peace just swept through me. And I was feeling okay that day, you know, but I wasn't feeling I'm walking around exuding peace. But I walked in and that happened. And then there's been times when I'm in a good space, I've looked at someone and afterwards they said, my headache disappeared when you looked at me. I wasn't aware they had a headache. I wasn't trying to heal them. And I thought, that's interesting. That's happened a few times. And it was powerful. I don't know if I mentioned it. I do an exercise sometimes in workshops where we walk silently around looking at each other, moving slowly from very separate ego to a join-in space, wherever, if we can manage it. I was in Sao Paulo, in South America, and walking around and feeling in a good space. And I stood opposite this woman, and I just felt very loving towards her and gazed at her, and she looked at me. A couple of months later, I had a letter from the workshop organizer, and she said, Michael, that woman had cancer. I'm being triggered. And directly after that meeting with you, the cancer started to go away. That's our power. Being in a good, loving space. Michael's ego is out of the way for a moment. Spirit comes through and he knows what to do. Goes straight through the eyes. She said, you know, the Course would say, Michael's looking at me as if I'm not a sinner. Perhaps I'm not a sinner. If I'm not a sinner, why do I want cancer? I don't. So it goes. So she healed herself. But something like that happened. And, you know, all of us here could be doing that without even knowing it. Like you say, Jill, you don't know you're banging out it, but I've had enough feedback to know that happens.
And I just want to remind you, and I don't know where it is, and I would have to go, it would be something I've posted recently. I will try and find it and post it again, is that after we, because we're doing this meditation and doing this healing, somewhere it says that we need to remember that now we are taking the lighthouse in the world. Other than when we're in this group, we are, as you know, we're still one and taking this light out into the world, and which is like the healing. So I think it is a good idea to get that into your minds, that you are powerful and this can never be undone. It's a done deal. So if you're feeling down about yourself, or a little insecure, or, well, I'm afraid it's too bad, because you are powerful beings and there's nothing you can do about it now.
Lovely, Jill. Oh, I like this new Jill. Oh. It was always there. It's just coming out now. Nice hearing you speak, Jill. And that channeling was lovely that you brought through as well. It's a real blessing.
So I'll try to write better and wear my glasses next time.
All is forgiven. These sharings has moved us quite forward in time. I'll leave it up to you now. Do you want a very short healing exercise, or is there more sharing? We've got 15 minutes left. What would you like?
Short exercise.
I don't mind what we do, but I do have to leave at 7:30 if that matters. You can always carry on without me.
No, we're finished. Someone else asked for a healing exercise?
Exercise?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What we'll do, we won't have time to share in pairs, but we'll spend this time now just doing a shorter healing exercise. Okay. So if you like to close your eyes and relax. Take a few deep breaths. Realize that you're very loved, very cared for. Those beings surround you now, and the Holy Spirit. So send out an invitation for them to draw close, to hold your hand in this healing. You wish you can see a light just building up around you, a beautiful bubble forming around you, with beautiful energy. You hold out your hand to be helped, to be led. And this love has no judgment of you. Knows you're having nightmares here. It wants to wake you up. Just choose something that's troubling you at the moment. Some feeling you're carrying. Some person in your life. Or ask them to show you something. The person appears, just see light coming down onto them. See them smiling. And you can put a teacher's cap on their head to remind you they're a mirror to what's unhealed in yourself. If it's something that you're carrying about yourself, something you don't like about yourself, something you're ashamed, something you wish you were different, Just become aware of that and see where you're holding it in your body. Place a hand there if you want to. Same for the person who you're upset with. They're creating a charge in you somewhere, some anger, hatred, sorrow, whatever it is. Allow that to be there as well. And turn to your guides and say, I need your help to heal this. Imagine the light coming from them like a beam, full of love and gentleness. It's shining into that area of your body where you feel a tension and pain. And it's still your choice to release it or not, but they're sending you this healing love. You can breathe it into that part of your body and have compassion for that part of your body. As you look at that pain, make a decision. Is it time to be free? Is it time to release it? Or do I still need it for some reason? Let a picture, some symbol come. Just let it appear in that area of the pain. Whatever it is, ugly or beautiful, just accept it. It's your creation. You made it for a reason. Around you, the beings are moving their arms forward and opening their hands. But there's no pressure, no force. Can you lift out that symbol, that pain? Bless it and hand it over into the waiting hands and allowing that space to be filled with a beautiful light so it doesn't feel empty anymore. Just accept as far as you've gone with the exercise, seeing what feels different in the body. And I will give you a few minutes to pair up in the breakout room. So you can share between each other how that was for you. Welcome back. Thank you for staying the extra 5 minutes, Jill.
That's all right. I might as well stay now till the end.
I loved your. I joined the room with Jill and Ingrid because I thought Jill might have to leave early, but I was there to listen to a very good and powerful and correct appreciation of Ingrid. So that was nice to witness. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you, Ingrid, but she was right.
Cool.
Okay, is there anything very deep and brief before we sign off? It's been a wonderful session for me. You know, the atmosphere in this group, it's just been rather beautiful and soft and loving and kind, and that's why the exercise sort of moved towards the end, because we were sort of sharing together. And I can see why the ETs want us to send out this healing meditation, because as Jill was sharing, you know, our emotions amplify, our positive emotions amplify what we're sending out. As I say, I keep hearing that we're called the planet of emotions. So when we get our positive ones together, it's very creative, and they want us to do that. Oh, anyway, I felt it tonight. It felt lovely. Any final shares?
Oh, I wouldn't mind just saying, just on that, yeah, during that the healing meditation, yeah, I think it was similar last time in that as soon as we all joined together, it was just we just became this pillar of light, and the earth was in there, and yeah, and then it all just came liquid gold energy. It's just, yeah, it's really powerful.
You're talking about the healing meditation at the beginning?
Yeah, the healing meditation. And then I thought at the end I was should just do that for anything that comes up. Put it all in there.
Yes, it just sets up the workshop then, doesn't it? We come from that energy in. I didn't ask for sharing them because I thought we might run out of time for the workshop. But yes, it has that effect. And I'll be posting that one. I'll take the old one down that had a mistaken two in. And Jill said she'll add the words. And then as Jill give me permission, I'll start posting that meditation on Insight Timer and YouTube and get it out there. Any last words, you lovely group? Okay. Have a lovely day, lovely evening,
Thank you.
and we'll meet again.
Well,
Thanks, Judith. Bye now.
Bye now. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, everyone.